Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Tuesday night here in Azeroth, and we have a great show lined up for you. We're going to be talking about the Siege of Orgrimmar. Again, we're back to Mists of Pandaria, the last raid. Siege of Orgrimmar is the last content release for Mists of Pandaria Classic, and we're going to talk about that. I did a lot of speculation last week on what's going to come after Mists of Pandaria Classic, so who knows? But today we're just going to talk about the raid and what to expect, maybe get into some of the lore behind it. It was actually a really interesting time in WoW. Mists of Pandaria was one of those periods where Blizzard was inventing a lot of lore, and so the raid was a really good way to kind of showcase all of the different things, the Mogu and the Klaxi and all of the different things, and to also tie it into the Titans and kind of the origins of Azeroth. And I mean, who knows? Maybe there's still some lore to be gleaned from that, even today, going into the last Titan and where WoW will be taking us. So, it'll be a little bit of a journey. I'll try to avoid too much speculation on what's coming next for Classic, which, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I mean, it's mine, but and this is my show, so maybe I will just do that. But no, I want to get in there and I want to talk about some of the lore and some of the different aspects of the Siege of Orgrimmar, because like I said, it is really interesting. Also, we've got some 12.0.7 news and the trading post for June and some other things. And we have a new, I don't know if I'm going to call it a new segment, but we do have a, well, let's just say I was wrong about something. And I'm going to admit how I was wrong and kind of get into it, because I feel like it's important for somebody to not just spew incorrect information and then when they find or say whatever they want, and then when it turns out they were wrong, just ignore it and move on because of their ego or whatever the reason is. I'm going to talk about it because that's what I'm going to do, and that's who I am. All that and more coming up tonight on Azeroth United. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Before I get into any news, I will do that thing that I always do, which is a quick rundown on what I got up to last week in World of Warcraft. The raid team is doing really well. They're flourishing without my leadership, so that makes me feel good. We are 8 of 10. The only two bosses we have left to kill are Kael'thas and Lady Vashj, of course. We got our first looks at Lady Vashj this week, which surprisingly, a lot of people actually haven't killed that boss previously. This is a new experience for a lot of people on our raid team, so that's kind of fun. So we got to go through it and show people here's how it works with the cores and throwing them. You got to pass them to the next person in line and so forth. That's a fight that gets really chaotic. I mean, both of those fights, the Kael'thas fight and the Lady Vashj fight, they get really chaotic really fast. The Vashj fight, the mechanics aren't as difficult. I'd say it's more about just coordinating the tossing the cores and avoiding the striders picking up the adds as they come in. The Kael'thas fight is like a dance. It's like you have to execute this dance perfectly, and if you get everything lined up just so, you can do it. But otherwise, you're going to wipe. So, I think I'm having fun. I'm having a good time. I'm really happy with where the raid team is, and I kind of begrudgingly dragged everyone through phase 1, and if it wasn't for my assistant raid leaders, I wouldn't have gotten as far as I did. So they're doing a great job running the raid team, and we're having a lot of fun. I did so let's see, last week I got the gloves, which I can't do anything with because as a hunter you're supposed to use 4 piece of the Beast Lord until you get 4 piece of the, I can't even think of a Nether Stalker, I think it is, whatever the tier 5 is for hunters. And so was it Rift Stalker? I think it's Rift Stalker. Anyway, that's not important. What's important is that I got the gloves, but I can't really do anything with them. So I need to get 3 more pieces and then I can move on from the Beast Lord. Ideally, I'd get helm, shoulders, and chest because I have really good legs. I've got the Skulker's Greaves from Karazhan, so I'd really rather not replace those. So that's where we are, and I don't think the legs are really good for hunters either anyway, but that's not the point. The point is, had a good raid week. I didn't really get any loot this week, but since I'm the crafter for the raid team, I'm picking up all of the leatherworking patterns, which there are a lot of pretty lousy leatherworking patterns in there. I'm not gonna lie. There are some that as I get them, I'm like, well, I'm never making that, and I'm never making that. But we're getting a few, and we got a we're making our way through. So with the crafting. So anyway, the point is having a good time. I've been playing some alts as well. My mage actually been having a lot of fun on the mage. Being able to go and just round up a big group of whatever and kite them around is fun on the mage. Playing Frost, obviously, for leveling, and playing the paladin as well. Trying to get the paladin to max level, but man, it's slow. And I don't have it's not motivation. I want to get to max level, but I log on and it's like there's other things that I should be doing. There's other things that I could be doing, and sitting and running dungeons is just not appealing. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with Anniversary right now is that everybody came in with this mindset of, well, leveling through dungeons is the best way to level because you're going to get rep. So as soon as you get your rep, then you go and you do your quests, and then so you have so many people who are just going and pounding dungeon after dungeon after dungeon. That's not fun. I don't enjoy that. So I've been doing some quests and trying to level up that way, and at the end of the day, I think really it's just a matter of I'm gonna play whatever and I'm gonna have fun with the game. And if it turns out that the character was leveled air quote incorrectly, big whoop, what am I gonna do? So that's kind of where I am. In Midnight, however, I so I have been I've been doing delves and doing a couple of world quests and whatever, just doing a little bit here and a little bit there. But I finally said, okay, I'm gonna do some delves this week. I'm really gonna do it. I was gonna do it last week when it was the delve bonus event. I didn't do it. I did 2 delves. So this week I was like, I'm gonna do as many delves as I can, and I did 3. So I really like some of the delves, though. I feel like the delves are better this time around than they were in the War Within, although some of the storylines in the delves are less fun. Like the mirror one that I talked about last week, that is not as much fun because you're like, it's not just about going in there and killing guys, it's about solving puzzles, which is fun in certain contexts, but I don't want to do it again and again. And every time I get that one, it's like, oh god, I hate this one. But anyway, that's not the point. So I did some delves. I did some things in Midnight, and I think after looking at the calendar and where we are with patch 12.0.7, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start getting ready for season 2 because I really want to get in there. I want to at least kill every boss one time. So at least do raid finder on the season 1 raids, but get ready so that I can do maybe normal, maybe heroic if I can get in with a good group for season 2. I think that would be a lot of fun. But we still don't even know what season 2 is going to be, when it's going to be out, anything like that. So we'll get into all that down the road. But that's about it. For me, I spent a lot of time doing other stuff this weekend because so there's always some drama, right? There's always something going on. So this week, my wife's brother called and said, "Hey, I'm coming out, and I'm bringing the kids with me." He's got 8 kids, so his 2 oldest are at summer camp right now, so they weren't coming, but he's got the youngest kids, and so they range in age from about 2 to 13. So he drove out with his church van out to Ohio from Utah, and so there was a little bit of scrambling as we were trying to figure out how we were going to make this work with him. He's staying with my wife's parents, who live actually just across the border in Indiana. But it was kind of weird, and I can speculate on why he's here with his 6 kids and his wife is back in Utah, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. But so I was going to do a bunch of stuff this weekend, and ended up having to. We drove out there. We had dinner with them, and his kids are really sweet, really cute kids. I had actually never met them before because he and my wife don't really it's not that they don't get along. It's that as you become an adult, you start to grow apart from family. Sometimes it happens. And I think they just grew apart over the years. And, but now he's out here, and I don't know how long he's going to be here. Maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a week. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely very interesting. I'm not sure. I mean, I looked up a little bit of what's going on with them, and I don't know that I want to get into it here, but let's just say there's a story there that maybe I'll tell one day, whenever I get around to doing my Azeroth After Dark um, segments that I've been thinking about for a long time and never actually did. So yeah, that'll be fun. So anyway, that's took a lot of my playtime away this weekend, and which is okay. It's fine, family first, right? But yeah, I mean, it's just been one thing after another, and then in a couple weeks, my daughter's getting married, so I'll be out of town for that. So I'm looking forward to just some nice peace and quiet. And I thought, all right, my kids are all grown. I'm gonna just be able to sit around and do whatever I want. Nope. That's not the way it works. Nope. And in fact, in some ways, when they're adults, they need you more than they did when they were children. So maybe I'm not wiping noses and changing diapers, but I'm doing plenty on my own. And yeah, so my daughter's boyfriend, his car has a broken strut that he's got to take to the mechanic. So we made an appointment for him with the mechanic. I mean, he's 21, so he's capable of doing stuff on his own, but he's still young and learning the ways. And so we called up our mechanic and said, hey, can you fit him in? And they said, yeah, but it was going to be a couple of days. And so I said, okay, I'm going to give you the keys to my Mustang and you're going to drive that because you know what? You're a good kid and I want you to be able to get around. So he's currently driving my Mustang back and forth to work, which is not necessarily I mean, it's fine, but it's, sometimes I go out there and look and I'm like, well, I wish I had my car out there, but I don't. So anyway, that's what's going on with me. So, all right, let's move on into the news.
It's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, so as I said at the opening of the show, and as you may have noticed from the episode title, Siege of Orgrimmar is here. Phase 5 of Mists of Pandaria Classic is launching today. I think it's either already live or it will be live in a few hours as I'm recording this. It's 5:00, so it should be up soon. Yeah, Siege of Orgrimmar, the final content patch for Mists of Pandaria Classic. We also get the Timeless Isles and the Celestial Dungeons. And, we're going to get into all the details of what's coming in Phase 5 and some of, like I said, dive into some of the lore. But yeah, this is it. This is it, man. For those keeping track at home, the Throne of Thunder raid launched 25 weeks ago. So 25 weeks is the full length of time for season 2, I guess, essentially, for Mists of Pandaria Classic. It's a little bit shorter than it was the first time around, but for Classic and the way things are running right now and how fast Blizzard is releasing content for Classic, 25 weeks is a long time. That's a good chunk of time. It's 6 months of Throne of Thunder. So, yeah, I'm guessing, and I don't know anything, but whatever comes after Mists of Pandaria Classic, whether it's Warlords of Draenor or Classic Plus or something else entirely, we're going to be in Siege of Orgrimmar for at least 6 months, if not 8, is my guess. So we'll get into all that. I'm doing a lot of speculating right now, especially with some of the new revelations that we've gotten over the past couple of weeks, like I talked about last episode. But yeah, we'll be in Siege of Orgrimmar for at least through the end of the year is kind of my prediction there. So we'll see what comes next, what the future brings. We'll certainly find out more information at BlizzCon, but for now, enjoy Siege of Orgrimmar. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of a population spike as people come back to check out, especially the Timeless Isle. A lot of people have good memories of the Timeless Isle, so I'm sure we'll see the numbers of people raiding in Mists of Pandaria go up. But one of the biggest problems right now is that so many guilds have folded because they just don't have the numbers anymore to really keep keep raiding. Let's not forget the Siege of Orgrimmar was the very first raid that brought flex raids, and it was only for the lowest difficulty, which is now normal raids. There was no flex. You had to have 10 or 25, and there's really no other option. So it's tough to keep. If they had flex raids all throughout Classic, I think it would have been a lot easier to keep some of these guilds alive. Oh, we only have 17 people. That's fine. We can go raid with 17 people. And if Blizzard is smart, which they're not, but let's be real. But if they were smart, anything new going forward for Classic, let's not stick with this rigid raid size thing. Let's go with flex. Do 10 to 30. That's fine. Or 10 to 25 is fine. Blizzard is doing flex in midnight for Mythic Raid. Why is it that we can't have flex raids for Classic? So please, Blizzard, for Classic Plus, give us flex raids. We don't want to see guilds die because they can't get 3 more people. Or they have to bring in a pug and now there's loot drama or whatever. That's just flex raids, please. That's an easy win. And I think most people, not all, I don't speak for everyone, but I think most people can agree that that's a pretty easy one, even if it's adjusted in how you do it. Maybe they do like they did in Season of Discovery, where the raids are tuned for 20, but you can bring up to 40. Okay, that's fine. So you recruit a big guild, bring as many people as you want, but you need at least 20. So that's a better way of doing flex than they have now, which is nothing. Maybe they could do it a little bit better than that. Maybe bring the number down to 15. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, that's not the point here. The point is Siege of Orgrimmar, Mists of Pandaria Classic Phase 5 is going to be live on the servers by the time you listen to this. So enjoy the content, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few segments. All right. In other news, okay, here we go. The June trading post. Now, this one is, I've heard a lot of people talk about this one already, and people are very excited about this one. And I got to tell you, I'm not a big fan of the Tauren aesthetic. I'm really not. Last month was Gilnean, and it was like, this is fine. This is cool. I'll get some stuff, which I ended up not getting as much stuff as I thought I would, but it's a cool aesthetic. The Tauren aesthetic does not do it for me at all. I'm not a big fan of the wooden, the totems or the wooden weapons or any of that stuff. This is not a month for me, which is fine. Not every month has to be for me. I'm okay with that, but there's a lot of Tauren looking transmogs on there, and that's okay. The bonus reward for this month for your Traveler's Log is the flame painted Sunrock mount, which it does look pretty cool. I'd probably never use it because I wouldn't, but it does look cool. I can appreciate that the art design team did a good job with it. So that's going to be your Traveler's Log bonus reward for filling out your Traveler's Log, plus your 1,000 attendees that you get every month for filling out your I think you get 500 for logging in, and then you get another 5 for doing the Traveler's Log. So sorry, I didn't mean to misspeak there. The trading post has been so weird lately because they're doing these themes, which are cool, but I don't know. I'd like some more just generic transmog. I don't need everything to be themed. But maybe, I guess that's the point. Some people do like this aesthetic. Some people really like it. If they did a troll themed one, I wouldn't like that either. But some people really like the troll theme aesthetic. And so for me, I don't need any of the mounts. I don't need any of the transmog. This is a save 1,000 attendees month for me. I think last time I logged in, I have like 6,700 attendees. So, when something comes that I'm really digging, like, another Night Elf month or something like that, a really cool pirate themed month, I'll spend a bunch of attendees then. But as it stands right now, no, I think I'm good. So if you are a big Tauren fan, I'm not trying to disparage you. Enjoy, have fun. This is not for me, but this may very well be for you. So have fun, you Tauren lover. I'm so happy for you. Genuinely, I am. So, and I'm going to save my attendees. So there you go. All right, let's move on. It's okay. I don't know. It's traders, tenders. Okay. Before I get into any of the 1207 stuff, first off, the most recent patch for 1207 on the PTR was set as a release candidate. Now, typically, a release candidate is something that you get a couple of weeks before the patch launches. Now, there's been a lot of speculation that the patch would launch on the 16th, or then they changed some of the dates for the Turbulent Timeway. So then maybe it was, maybe it's the 30th. I think because of it's a release candidate and really trying to understand the calendar, I think we're going to get the 16th. I think we have 2 weeks, and then we're going to get patch 1207. And then, then we'll go from there. So, release candidate is a big deal. That means that the patch is basically done, and they can still make some changes to it, but this is the finished patch that they're going to go live with. The one with all the bugs that is going to break on patch day. That's the one that's going live. So, So I mean, that'll be really cool for people who are raiding. There's a new raid boss coming in 1207, and I haven't talked a lot about that because I was kind of saving it for everything to get finalized. And it happened right before the Siege of Orgrimmar. And so I was like, well, I already decided I was going to do this episode was going to be Siege of Orgrimmar. So maybe next week I'll talk about 1207 and all of the features that are coming with that and everything. So, but anyway, that's what we got going on there. So, release candidate for 1207. It's coming, folks. It's coming. Let's talk about this repair thing. So there was a whole forum thread about the, or multiple forum threads about how high repair costs have gotten. People are showing their screenshots of, it would cost me 5,000 gold to repair or whatever. And it's very expensive to repair. That's always been a big gold sink in WoW is you got to repair your gear. And so as much gold as you can make, that's offset by the fact that you do have to repair your gear. So if you're dying a lot and you're taking a lot of damage, or if you're a tank, like a warrior tank or a paladin tank, your shield's going to take a lot of damage. And so, you do have to repair, and it does cost a lot. So Blizzard, this is weird to me. So they made the repair costs higher. And I guess maybe it's tied to item level and the way they scaled item level this patch because of the item level squish. The repair cost just got really high. I don't know what they changed and why it is that it became the way that it did, but they've decided to take the shields and weapons off the durability charge, basically. So you're not going to get charged for weapons. You're not going to get charged for shields to repair them. I feel like that's a really weird way of solving this issue rather than just reducing the cost of repairs. I don't understand why they would do that. If you're saying, hey, you know what, repairs are too high up. Okay, then why would you do? It doesn't make sense to me. My big thing with repairs is that I don't mind paying a lot of money for repairs as long as we're getting a good chunk of money in income for doing stuff. If I go and I do quests, then I should be getting a good level of monetary reward that can be offset by a high repair cost. So if I'm running a Mythic Plus, for example, and it's a 11, say, I don't have a Resilient Key yet. I'm running an 11 and we wipe a bunch of times because you know what? Maybe somebody wasn't ready. We missed the interrupts, whatever. Okay. I'm going to come away with that with a 3,000 gold repair bill. At the end of the dungeon, I'm going to get, I don't even know what it is, 60 gold, 50 gold, something like that. It doesn't make any sense. You should be able to get more gold from doing the actual content to offset those repair costs. If people were making money doing Mythic Plus, they wouldn't complain for having to spend money to do Mythic Plus, because basically with high repair costs, you're paying to do Mythic Plus. That doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't feel good. So I feel like if you can't just flat out reduce the repair costs, okay, fine. Increase the amount of money people are getting, because if people are repairing their gear, that means they're doing stuff. And if they're doing stuff, that means they should be earning gold. So there has to be some sort of a formula that says, okay, if you're doing content, then you're going to earn this much gold, and so the repair cost should be a percentage of that. I don't understand why they would just say, okay, well, we're going to take shields and weapons off, because that's not how logic works. You just created a new problem, which is now you can't charge for repair costs for weapons and shields, which means that other repair costs down the road are going to go up to compensate for that. And so at the end of the day, it's not going to make a difference. It's like when Blizzard put warbands into the game. They said, hey, we're going to make it so that you can access everything on your alt with the new warband system, which, hey, that's great. Everyone was really happy about that. And then they went through and they made a bunch of things non-warband functioning, so that, oh, well, this doesn't work with warbands and that doesn't work with warbands. Well, then what the heck was the point of the warbands if you were going to then go back and make a bunch of things that don't operate on that same principle? I understand putting the system in place that functions that way, but if you're going to create a system, you need to create a system that works on its own without having to put a bunch of extra stuff in there and make it so that, oh, well, yeah, but we don't want you to be able to do this. Well, then why did you give us warbands? Why would you just stick with what we had before? Oh, you have to go buy the token that gives you the rep on your alt. Fine, I don't care. Don't give us something and then slowly nickel and dime parts of it away from us. That doesn't feel good. I have to just, anyway, sorry. I'm going to rant on that if I keep going. So, repair bills, on the PTR are now, not being charged for weapons and shields. So no more block tax for warriors and paladins. Yeah. So there you go. That's, I mean, maybe it'll end up being just a great thing and everyone will be happy and we'll all live merrily from here on out. Maybe. Probably not, though. Let's just be real. That's probably not the way it's going to work. We're going to find something else out, and then Blizzard's going to have to change that. And this is how we end up with spaghetti code, because they can't just fix something outright. They have to try and find an end run around it. I don't like that. So, but anyway, let's talk. I don't know, man. Let's talk. Well, you know what? We're going to save this. So Blizzard released a preview of the Omnium Folio, which is the new power system in Midnight. I want to go into all of the stuff for patch 12.0.7. And I think what's going to happen is next week's episode, I'm going to cover all of it. So the Omnium Folio, which is our new power system, the new lore walking that Blizzard also released a preview for, the new raid boss, all the new zones that we're going to be going to, and all of that. We'll cover all of that next week. The one thing I will say about the Omnium Folio, though, is that I am glad, on one hand, that Blizzard decided to release a borrowed power system without it being tied to a piece of gear. I really like that, because throughout the history of WoW and the history of borrowed power, especially Legion forward, there was always something that you had that had your borrowed power attached to it, like your artifact weapon in Legion, your Azerite necklace in Battle for Azeroth. Shadowlands, you had your legendaries that you had to craft, which, oh God, don't get me started on the Shadowlands legendary crafting. I mean, you want to talk about ruining a system. They said, oh, Legion legendaries were hard to get. Well, why don't you just craft your own? Sorry. And then Dragonflight, we had a series of, there was like the Onyx Amulets and the Circe Circlets and all of this stuff from Dragonflight on that, yeah, is cool, but it's tied to a piece of gear. And the problem is, when you tie a borrowed power system to a piece of gear, you now have something that you can't replace in your equipped on your character, right? So if you have, let's say, the disc belt that was that War Within Season 2, the disc belt was really cool. I liked it. It had some cool effects, and they could tweak it and modify it because it was really overpowered when it launched. But it was fun. It really only worked in Delves, and it was tied to your belt slot. So if you got a belt in your Great Vault, that felt terrible, because you're like, well, I absolutely can't get a belt because I've got this disc belt. So I think the smart move that Blizzard is doing here is to just take it off of the equipment's slot altogether, and it's essentially like a new talent tree. But it's a temporary one that we only use in this area of content. So we'll get it in 12.07. It'll probably last until the end of patch 12.1.7 when we get a new borrow power system that is going to supercharge us at the end of season 2. I like that better. I wish that we didn't have to have that, but I understand that one of the problems that MMOs have is that players want to improve constantly. And if you stagnate a player and you say, okay, you got all your gear, everything's upgraded, you're myth 8 out of 8 or 6 out of 6, you're maxed out, people are done. They're done. I'm done. I don't need to play anymore because I already got all the stuff. And if those same people don't like to play alts, which a lot of people don't, they're just going to stop playing WoW for a period of time. And if that person is month to month, they might even cancel their sub until the new content comes out. And that's what Blizzard is trying to avoid. They don't want somebody to go, hey, it's June and I'm all capped out on all my stuff. And so now I'm just going to turn off my sub until season 2 comes out. They don't want that because they're losing the money. So they have to find ways to keep players engaged and to keep improving our power. So if we can boost our power up at the end of a season, but that's not permanent, and that's exactly why borrowed power works. The problem with borrowed power in the past is that it felt lousy because you had to give it up in such a weird way. But if Blizzard can create a system where, hey, here's the old borrowed power is going away, but here's a new borrowed power. Cool, that's fun. Give us these generic abilities that we can use. The problem with artifact weapons is that it was tied to our character, and it was tied to our character abilities. And so you learned throughout the entirety of Legion how to play your character. And as soon as Legion was over, you lost your artifact weapon and those abilities just went away and you didn't have them anymore. And for a lot of classes and specs, that felt really bad. Also, when your borrowed power is tied to an object, a physical object, and like in Legion's case, when we didn't have a way to improve it for our alts, leveling up an alt or even leveling up an alternate spec on your main character felt terrible because you had to go grind all that artifact power again. So I think they've learned their lesson on that aspect of it. We'll see how the implementation of this goes. And if they're smart, what they'll do is they'll have a new system. Let's say 12.05. It gets nerfed. Or I'm sorry, 12.1.5, this Omnium Folio will get nerfed. And then in 12.1.7, we'll have the Fomnium Olio or some other system that they make up. And that'll be the new, it'll be some troll themed thing probably because I think we're getting trolls in patch 12.1. Anyway, yeah, if you could do it that way and then you create a new predictable system in there that players can go, okay, I got this because I have this cool thing. It's going to go away for a little bit or at least get diminished. And then it'll get replaced by the new cool thing. That's fine. I think, I don't know how it's going to feel. I do know that it's really frustrating to be when I was running Delves in the War Within Season 2 and I had the disc belt and it was all maxed out. The Delves were fun, man. That felt great. Doing the Delves at that point in time was a blast. As soon as it went away, it sucked. I hated it because it's like, well, now I can't do all the really cool, fun things that I used to be able to do. So it is a challenge to get that balance just right. You want people to have fun and enjoy things, but you don't want them to feel terrible when you take them away because of it. Inevitably, you have to take it away or it just becomes a new part of the character. So yeah, I guess that's really what it's boiling down to. So this is it's a new brave new world for Blizzard. We'll see how it goes for them to have this system operating independently. I hope it works out because they're gonna keep doing borrowed power. There's no way that they can avoid borrowed power in a game like World of Warcraft. There's just no way. You have to do it. It's just how it goes. It's the way that gaming is today. This isn't vanilla where it's like, here's a world, just go do stuff. And players will go find things to do because they're curious and interested in the world. The world itself is interesting. That's not the World of Warcraft that we have anymore. The World of Warcraft we have now is, all right, I'm going to do the thing until it's done, and then I'm going to move on. And so you go and you play another game or something else, and Blizzard's trying to avoid that. They're trying to keep people subbed year round. That's why they're pushing all the 12-month subs, because then if everyone has a 12-month sub, then it's like, okay, well, we can do whatever we want now because we've got these people locked in for, $100 and whatever dollars a year. I forget how much it is. It's a lot. It's like $140, $150, something. I forget. It doesn't matter. So all that being said, I hope that this goes well. We'll talk about the specifics of the Omnium Folio next week as we get into all of this. There might still be some tweaks to it, even though it's a release candidate. We'll see. But next week will be all of the details coming into patch 12.0.7. All right. Now that we've gotten through all of that, we're going to talk about the Arena World Championship and the Mythic Dungeon International and why I was wrong. And I was wrong very confidently, I might add. Let's talk about this first. Blizzard put out a blog post about the finales for Season 1 of the AWC and the MDI Arena World Championships. That is going to take place this weekend, June 5th through the 7th. And then next weekend will be the Season 1 finale for the Mythic Dungeon International. Now, what I said was, and I forget what episode it was, but it was a few weeks ago. I said, if the grand finals are at BlizzCon, that means that Blizzard cannot launch Season 2 of Midnight until after BlizzCon, because the grand finals will be in Season 1 spec and talents. Well, with this blog post, I'm now realizing that the finals that we're going to have are Season 1 finals. What's happening at BlizzCon is a special BlizzCon only tournament at whatever point you happen to be for your character and your gear, Season 2, whatever. So what that means is we're going to be getting Season 2, patch 12.1, and Season 2 are going to all happen before BlizzCon, which means that they need to give enough time for Season 2 for the Race to World First, which means that Season 2 is going to start at least 2 weeks before BlizzCon, if not more. So if we're looking at the calendar, BlizzCon will launch will start on September 12th, which is Saturday. So if we go back 2 weeks from that, that takes us to August 25th as a potential launch date for Season 2, which takes us to August 18th as a potential launch date for patch 12.1, because you could have that week gap in between. I would speculate that they would probably want to give a little bit more cushion. So I'm now thinking, as a lot of people have already said, patch 12.1 will release on August 11th. Season 2 will start on August 18th. We're already thinking we're going to get patch 12.0.7 on June 16th, which means that if you go from June 16th to August 11th, oh, look at that. It's 8 weeks, just like they planned it. So I'm sorry. I've misled you. I was wrong. I made a mistake, just like last week, and I didn't make a big deal about it, but I am now realizing that, no, we probably are going to get Warlords of Draenor and Legion. We probably are going to get Wrath of the Lich King anniversary. We probably are. We might still get Classic Plus this year. I don't know. We might get it next year. We might get it at the end of Legion, whenever that is, at the end of Wrath of the Lich King. I don't know. But, I say a lot of things on this show, and some of the things that I say, I don't remember. Honestly, I'll say something and move on, and somebody will say something to me about, oh, that thing that you said. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. What did I say? You have to remind me, because I don't know. I just get on here and talk. I don't have a script. I'm not reading through this. Yeah, there's a transcript that I can go through later. But as I've said in the past, I don't like using transcripts because it gets so many things wrong. And I am too lazy to go through and edit it manually. So yeah, I'm wrong. I was wrong about Season 2 of Midnight, and I'm probably wrong about Classic and Anniversary and the future of those two. It looks like we're getting Classic Plus, but I don't know when. It could be this year. We could end up with 3 versions of Classic, just like we had before with Season of Discovery, which technically is still there. Yeah, That's what's going on. So anyway, I apologize for misleading you. I apologize for sounding arrogant or rude or however I sounded. I don't know. I listen to myself and I think, wow, what a good looking funny guy. But yeah, it looks like we're going to be getting patch 12.1 probably around August 11th is my guess. I don't know that we would get any sooner than that, but I think releasing the patch a month before BlizzCon gives enough time for everything to work through. Then a couple weeks after BlizzCon, we'll get patch 12.1.5, and then everything kind of lines up. And then the whole drama of Blizzard has BlizzCon and it's going to screw up their timeline goes away. Because honestly, the reality is, no, that's fine. Everything will work out because the people who are doing the schedule over at Blizzard are a lot smarter than me, and that's fair. Now, granted, there could still be some sort of issue that could slow things down or mess things up. Maybe the patch isn't ready on time, maybe 20 different things. We still don't even know what patch 12.1 is going to be. So, Blizzard is not at a state where they feel like they want to announce it yet, and that's fine. But I'm speculating that season 2 will launch and we will have a Race to World First before BlizzCon. So that'll be good. Because honestly, it didn't make any sense to launch it after BlizzCon because you're already going to have everyone there. All of these people from these Race to World First guilds are going to be at BlizzCon. And so then they're going to go home and only to go right back to where they need to go for the Race to World First. Doesn't feel like it makes a lot of sense. So I think this works a lot better. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm just hoping that... One, I'm hoping the patch 12.1 is cool and the theming for it, which we're assuming troll, but we don't know for sure. I hope that all lines up and feels really cool, feels really fun. And I'm really hoping for a good Race to World First. Man, I'll tell you, if Liquid wins again, holy moly, that'll be 5 in a row. Whew, that's quite the streak. This is like Method back in the day where they just won every single tier. So, all right. That's it for the news. Let's move on to what's going on this week in World of Warcraft. The bonus event for this week is Legion Time Walking. You're going to get the Sign of the Legion buff. Legion reputation gains from combat and quests increased by 50%. So that'd be really cool if you are trying to get your Legion reps up or whatever it is that you may want to be doing. You can pick up the quest, A Fell Path Through Time from Archmage Aethys Sunreaver in Silverman City. You need to defeat 5 time walking dungeons, and then you will be rewarded with a champion track raid item. So, it's good for an alt or somebody like me who hasn't geared anyone up. I will definitely be doing time walking this week. The dungeons, which they haven't changed this dungeon pool for a while, which is fine. It's Blackrook Hold, Court of Stars, Dark Heart Thicket, Eye of Ashara, Neltharian's Lair, and Vault of the Wardens. I'll tell you right now, I'm sick of all these dungeons after Legion Remix, but I'll go do them because they're easy and they're fast, so that's fine. The only one that I don't like in this list that I really just despise is Vault of the Wardens, but I don't hate it as much as I used to. I guess it's fine. But yeah, there you go. Legion Time Walking. Go get that done. We are not at the Turbulent Timeways yet. We still don't even know when that's going to launch. On the PTR, it's currently saying June 30th, but that date could still change. So when the Turbulent Timeways launches, though, that's when we will get the all the Time Walking quests will grant a hero track raid item, and we'll be able to get the Viranoth's Spawn of Viranoth mount, which looks really cool. So that'll all be coming in 12.0.7. So like I said, next week we'll cover all that, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more information about when the patch will be releasing. The PvP brawl for the week is Warsong Scramble. Do you have a flag? Warsong Gulch has always been the scene of an epic capture the flag battle. What happens when you can capture your enemy's flag without your own at base? Or if there are multiple flags at each base? Find out when you step into this PvP brawl. We've also added a few more power-ups to the field of battle to stir things up a bit. To win, your team will need to be the first to capture 10 flags. This one's actually really fun. I like this one. I like this one. It's fast. And there's not as much dithering about in the center. It's really just go get the flag and push it through as fast as you can. So this one's it's a good time. So when you zone in, you'll get the quest Something Different to win a PvP brawl, and you'll be rewarded with Conquest Honor and Marks of Honor. We have a micro holiday this week, which is the 1,000 Boat Bash. The citizens of Azeroth need a break. Let's go boating in Thousand Needles. So you just need to go out to the old Shimmering Flats, which is now a big lake in the middle of Thousand Needle, or at the end of Thousand Needles. You go pick up some quests. When you get there, I believe when you get there, you'll get the buff for the boat. If you're not familiar with this, basically what happens is you're going to get a buff that allows you to summon a boat anytime you're on water. So you get on the water and now you have a boat, and you're going to go, I think it's like 330% mount speed, which is great without dynamic flying or skywriting. So, I mean, obviously you're going slower than skywriting. It's really cool to get a boat. And then you do all the quests, and I think you have to like fish and do some other things. But once you finish everything, you turn everything in, then you'll get a item that lasts for 7 days. And when you use it, you get a 10-minute buff that gives you this boat. So anytime you step on water, you get a boat, which is really cool. So you can just cruise around on lakes, on rivers, whatever. I don't think it works in PvP, so you won't be able to use that if you're in a battleground. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's fun. This is one of those micro holidays that I go, you know what? I'm probably going to go out there and just go get my boat because it's just fun. It's an interesting diversion from all of the all of the chaos that's going on around us. Just go boating for, it's just such a summer thing. So yeah, it's going to run from June 6th to June 8th. I highly recommend it, but it's not for everyone, and that's fine. But yeah, go get your boat, and you can use it anywhere. It's not just Thousand Needles; it's anywhere in Azeroth or beyond. You'll be able to use your boat, and yeah, it's just fun. So go check that out on June 6th through June 8th. Also happening this weekend is the Dark Moon Fair. Dark Moon Fair will be in town from June 7th to June 13th. As you know, I love the Dark Moon Fair. I think it's great. It's always a really good thing to go get your knowledge points or your skill points if you haven't maxed out your trade skills. So go do your trade skill quests. Get your reputation with Dark Moon Fair. There's some really cool things that you can buy, but realistically, most of us probably already have all the things that we want from the fair. So you can go get your reputation and XP buff. You can go get your trade skill point, and knowledge points. And don't forget that if you are maxed on skill points for your profession, it will go down the list. And so if you maxed out Midnight professions, but maybe you haven't maxed out Battle for Azeroth, it will go down the list and it will increase those instead. So that's really cool. It's a really good way to level up some of those older professions, especially now with housing, and we're able to craft some things with those older professions. Sometimes they're kind of a pain to level up. So if you're able to get some of those old ones in to a higher level, then it'll be really cool. Like I had to get my jewel crafting, I think it was Legion jewel crafting, or I forget which one it was, but anyway, it wasn't maxed out. I needed like 15 points, and so yeah, I had to go grind out some stuff that I didn't want to do, but I needed it because of housing. So yeah, that's a thing. So anyway, go out to the Dark Moon Fair, get your knowledge and skill points, get your XP reputation buff, and enjoy the fair, because the fair is always a good time. All right, that's it for the news. Let's move on to our main topic of the week.
It's time for the main topic of the week.
The Siege of Orgrimmar wasn't just the final raid of Mists of Pandaria. It was the moment the Horde went to war with itself. Former allies became enemies. The Alliance marched on the Horde capital, and Garrosh Hellscream made his final stand beneath the streets of Orgrimmar. By the end of Mists of Pandaria, Garrosh had alienated much of the Horde through his increasingly ruthless leadership. His actions sparked the Darkspear Rebellion, led by Vol'jin, and before long, former Horde allies were fighting alongside the Alliance against the true Horde. The siege began with a coordinated offensive that pushed Garrosh's forces back to the gates of Orgrimmar. Alliance troops, under King Varian Wrynn, joined Rebel Horde forces in a massive attack on the city, supported by naval operations in Bladefist Bay. Together, they fought their way through Orgrimmar's defenses and deep into the underground chambers beneath the city. The coalition assembled against Garrosh was unlike anything Azeroth had seen before. Alliance soldiers fought alongside trolls, tauren, and blood elves, and other Horde races that had turned their back on the warchief. Leaders like Vol'jin, Thrall, Bane Bloodhoof, and Lor'themar Theron all united with a single goal: ending Garrosh's reign. Garrosh, however, wasn't standing alone. The true Horde remained fiercely loyal, bolstered by goblin mercenaries, manted allies, and the corrupting power of the old god Yasharaj. In the end, the combined forces of the rebellion and the alliance proved too much to overcome. Deep beneath Orgrimmar, Azeroth's greatest heroes confronted Garrosh and defeated him. Rather than executing him on the spot, leaders of both factions agreed that he should stand trial for his crimes. The Siege of Orgrimmar effectively brought an end to the war between the Alliance and Horde, at least for a time. A fragile new peace was established between King Varian Wrynn and the new Horde warchief, Vol'jin. But Garrosh's story wasn't over. His eventual escape would set the stage for the events of Warlords of Draenor and yet another conflict that would reshape Azeroth. All right, so from a lore standpoint, the Siege of Orgrimmar is massive. First of all, the fact that Garrosh was able to do so much against essentially all odds, it was impressive. As much as he's kind of hated on for being such a crazy warmongering Horde leader, the dude was efficient. He knew how to get things done. He knew how to lead. He knew how to fight. And it's kind of scary how much he was able to get accomplished. And if he hadn't pushed the rest of the Horde away, Azeroth would have been overrun by the Horde if Garrosh had not fallen into the trap of no, orcs only, within reason. And of course, this is a written narrative by Blizzard, and they are going to make it go the way that they want. But the reality is, if this sort of thing were to happen, there's a lot. And so, you think about the real world parallels, and obviously I don't want to say the one that everyone's thinking of when you think of a warmonger who almost took over the world, but there is a lot more than just, hey, here's a city, let's go invade it. There was a lot of politics going on. Some of the quest lines leading up to the Siege of Orgrimmar were really good and really well done. I remember that for me, this was a period of time where I was playing WoW a lot less. I was pulling way, way back. I had a lot going on IRL, and so I never actually raided Siege of Orgrimmar at the time when it was released in 2014 or whatever that was, 2013. I never got around to it. So, this time around, it would be nice to be able to go in there and raid, but I don't have a level 90 on MoP Classic, so I won't be doing that. But I did want to talk about some of the raid fights and how this raid kind of changed the dynamic of raids going forward. Throne of Thunder had already done this a little bit, but there was something about Siege of Orgrimmar that is very, very familiar to people who are used to more modern WoW raids. That kind of open-endedness, the ability to just say, we're just going to go, and we're not going into a place. We're doing a thing. I think Dragon Soul was another one that had that same model, which is we're going to a place, but we're not just going through that place. We're going to be bouncing around from location to location with cutscenes in between, and taking us starting in the Vale of Eternal Blossoms, where Garrosh had been doing all of this destruction in Pandaria, leading to the Gates of Orgrimmar and into Orgrimmar itself to take out Garrosh Hellscream. Now, a lot of players over the years are very, very familiar with the layout of this raid because they've run it so many times, because they wanted the Tusks of Manaroth or the Korkron, whatever war mount, Scorpion mount thing, which is cool. It's cool looking. The Tusks of Manaroth is one that I did not need. So when Mists of Pandaria Remix came around and everyone was like, oh, you can get the Tusks of Manaroth, I was like, I don't care. Because to me, it's like, that's just not, that's not what I want out of my World of Warcraft. So Garrosh has plenty of fanboys. I get it. And that's fine. But let's be real. Garrosh is a horrible person. If Garrosh was a real person and we were watching this happen IRL, we'd be like, damn, this guy's messed up. This guy's crazy. He wouldn't have quite so many fans. It's like if anybody who watched The Boys, and let's not talk about The Boys season 5, but anyway, there was a whole thing where people were such big fans of not just of Homelander but also Soldier Boy, and it's like, these guys are villains. Just because the actors who are playing them are doing a good job, you're not supposed to be cheering for these guys. You're supposed to not like them, right? Okay, so Jensen Ackles is cool, that's great, but Soldier Boy's not a good dude. He's a terrible person. That being said, let's get into we'll get into the raid here in just a moment. Let's start off with what is actually coming with patch or with phase 5 of Mists of Pandaria. So the first thing we're going to get, and this is the biggest thing aside from the raid, is the Timeless Isle. Timeless Isle is a new zone with world bosses, treasures, rare spawns, all sorts of really cool things that you can go do on a daily basis. You can earn your timeless coins, which you use to buy pets, and eventually the Reigns of the Heavenly Golden Cloud Serpent. Timeless Isle was really cool. A lot of people really loved it. Like I said, I was not playing a lot of WoW at this time, so I didn't spend a whole bunch of time in the Timeless Isle. I know that sounds weird. Time in the Timeless Isle, but I didn't, and so this is only something I know from going back and having to, like, the time walking vendor is there and stuff like that. I just know you can't fly there, which is the thing that's annoying, because I've flown there trying to go to the vendor and you get dismounted halfway through, and if you get dismounted at just the wrong spot, you'll be in the air, get dismounted, and your momentum will carry you through and you'll land right on the island and die. So that sucks. So I decided I need to go over there on my druid so that when I get dismounted, I can, try and escape. Or my warrior. That's a really good one. Warrior is fun because then you can just heroic leap to the ground. But anyway, so Timeless Isle, that's a really big one. And a lot of people are going to be clamoring for that, I'm sure. Maybe from nostalgia, maybe just because it's cool to be able to have stuff to do. And I don't know. That's one of the things that's really tough, because the only memory that we have of Mists of Pandaria is this, feeling from 13 years ago. And so even 13 years ago, the internet was a very different place than it is now. And so are people going to go there and be like, oh, this is it? There's nothing else to do. This sucks. This is boring. I hate this. Yeah. There's no prey. There's no delves. There's no ritual sites. There's not a million things to do, but there are some quests, some daily quests. We didn't have world quests yet. There are daily quests there that you can go do. It's fun. It's a cool place to go get currency to buy stuff. It's just to give you something to do. Okay. So if you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. The legendary cloak is the next thing on the list. And so if we've been working on this, if you've been playing Mists of Pandaria, this is something that's been going on for a long time. So we're finally going to get the legendary cloaks out there in their final form. I believe they're item level 600, which is crazy good. Item level 600. So yeah, there you go. That'll be the final part in the quest chain for Rathian. It's so funny dealing with Rathian in Mists of Pandaria. I forget how different he was then than he is from Battle for Azeroth on, with from Turban Rathian to Sexy Rathian. It's like, this is not the same guy. The 4 new world bosses are Chiji, Yulan, Zuen, and Nizao. These are all the bosses on the Timeless Isle. If those names sound familiar and you've played a monk, that's why, because it's this August Celestials or whatever they call these. Those are the new world bosses, and then you can I guess there's a 5th world boss that you can get, which is Ordos. So that's really cool, but that's only after you've done the legendary quest chain. And then the Proving Grounds will be out. The Proving Grounds is a solo-based scenario where players will complete trials based on their role. These challenges will test a player's strength and allow them to learn new classes, roles, or just shake off the dust after some time away. Completing these challenges will reward players with titles and achievements. I never did the Proving Grounds because I wasn't playing, so I'm like, whatever. Nobody cares. I mean, maybe people care. I don't know. But yeah, I think this was the precursor to the Mage Tower. So it was, Blizzard trying to give us solo content, but not quite sure how to do it. This is what we got. All right. So let's talk about Siege of Orgrimmar. So like I said, it was a big deal. Garrosh not only... So if you've ever seen the cinematic with Garrosh fighting against Taranzu in the Vale of Eternal Blossoms, it felt very Mountain versus the Viper, Oberyn Martell from Game of Thrones, where you're like, oh, Taranzu's going to beat him. Oh, no, he's not. Garrosh won. Spoiler alert. Sorry. Game of Thrones has been out forever. If you don't know, then I'm sorry, but I'm not trying to spoil it. But yeah, so there's a lot of lore going into this, and I don't want to get into all the build up to it because a lot of that was the last phase, the escalation phase. But going into this, needless to say, the Tauren, the Trolls, the Blood Elves are all on the side of the rebels under Vol'jin, and then you have the Alliance under King Varian Wrynn, who are also trying to stop Garrosh. So it's a pretty good coalition. Obviously there's a lot of issues there. The Tauren are upset because Garrosh killed Cairn Bloodhoof. I don't think he wanted to kill him, but Magra Grimtotem, whatever her name was, poisoned his blade. I mean, this is all just like so Game of Thrones. Anyway, so going into the siege, let's go through the bosses, because to me that's one of the most interesting things about this, is that it's not just about, oh, it's a civil war to fight against the Alliance and the Horde. Yeah, okay, it was that, but to me it was really interesting, the variety of bosses that we got here. We've had some raids recently that have been very themed, and so you get very samey bosses, and I don't like that. First boss is Immersius. This is the water elemental that's poisoning the water that's flowing into the Valley of the Four Winds, and so you're not trying to kill him, you're just trying to cleanse him, just trying to get rid of the corruption, which of course we do because we're the heroes. But yeah, it's a big giant water elemental. It's a really cool fight. I actually like that one. And then you have the Fallen Protectors, which is the three. This is the council boss, and you have to kill them all at the same time. They're Pandaren, and they're basically crazy because of the Shah energy that's been unleashed. So we have to kill them to protect them from themselves or whatever. So and Blizzard loves a good council fight, so there you go. You have Nurashen, who's the giant Mogu looking Titan Titan construct. He's technically a Titanic Watcher, but he looks like a Mogu, and so Lore Rocket Show's speculation is that the Mogu were created in his image. So we never got a whole bunch of more lore on that, which I think would have been cool if we had, but we did not. And then rounding out the opening portion of the siege, we have the Shah of Pride, which is the final Shah that we had to fight. We fought doubt, despair, fear, anger, hatred, and violence. So yeah, Pride is comes before the fall. So I guess there you go. Siege of Orgrimmar gonna kill Garrosh, which we don't actually kill Garrosh. But what are you gonna do? Next boss is Galakras, which is a giant scorpion dude. Next boss is Galakras, which is Warlord Zayla's proto-drake. If you don't remember Warlord Zayla, that is one of Garrosh's leaders, and Zayla was one of the ones that was in Blackrock Spire with the Iron Horde in Warlords of Draenor. So we will see her again at some point. The Iron Juggernaut, which is the giant metal scorpion juggernaut thing that you have to fight. It's goblin engineering at its finest. So yeah, we have to kill the Iron Juggernaut to be able to get through to get into Orgrimmar. Then we've got the Korkron Dark Shaman, This is another council fight that you have to kill, and it's shaman. They were, I believe they were the class trainers, the shaman class trainers. Anyway, it's just a mechanical fight, and you just have to pay attention to it. But yeah, so now we're killing orcs, and then we're going on to General Nazgrim. General Nazgrim is he's one of the war heroes from, I forget where it was, but anyway, yeah, Nazgrim. Nazgrim is the one that we resurrect in Legion to be one of the 4 horsemen. Well, I say we because I played a Death Knight in Legion. It's one of the 4 horsemen that gets resurrected by the Death Knights in the Death Knight campaign to become one of the new 4 horsemen. So that's pretty cool there. Nazgrim is a real dude. Then we go on to Malkorok. Malkorok is the 9th boss. This is the patchwork boss. It's just you got to have the gear and the damage to survive this one. And then we move on to Spoils of Pandaria, and this is probably one of the most unique boss fights that there ever has been, that I've ever seen. It's about you got to open chests and kill mobs, and you got to do it in the right way. And it's just, I've never figured this one out because I've always done it at max or higher level. So this one, to me, I feel like would probably have been super irritating during Mists of Pandaria, but I don't know. It's unique, and to me, a unique boss fight is a cool boss fight. So they don't always make them easy, but I think it's really cool that Blizzard tried something different. Thok the Bloodthirsty, who is a giant devil soar. So he's from the Isle of Giants, and you can go kill him. And then we've got Siege Crafter Blackfuse, who is a goblin in a mech suit, shredder thing. Paragons of the Claxi, we got to fight the Claxis, and this is another of those callbacks to the beginning of Mists of Pandaria, because Blizzard introduced all this new lore, and it's like, okay, well, cool, we fought a Mogu construct, and then now we're fighting a Claxi. Yeah, and then Garrosh Hellscream. So the thing that I really like about these boss fights is that they are so different and unique. Every single one of these fights has an interesting mechanic, and the encounters themselves are interesting. If you look at, like, for example, let's move forward one expansion and go to Blackrock Foundry. No, it's not Blackrock Foundry. Whatever it is. Blackrock Foundry, right? No, whatever. It's all orcs. You're fighting orcs and ogres, and it's annoying, and I don't like that. Everybody loves Castle Nathria, and you're fighting all Revendreth except for the one ethereal the one broker who keeps showing up. I like the fact that Siege of Orgrimmar has so many different bosses and so many different types. You've got a proto-drake, you've got a devilsaur, you've got orcs, you've got Pandaren, you've got Mantid, you've got Mogu, you've got a water elemental, you've got dudes in mech suits, you've got there's so many cool, interesting fights in there. I think this was probably one of the best raids that they've ever done. The problem with Siege of Orgrimmar is that it became a hated place because we were there for so long. It took us over a year to get the pre-patch for Warlords of Draenor. And if you ever want a real insight into WoW players and how our brain works, think about this for a second. We were in Siege of Orgrimmar for over a year because Blizzard was delaying the launch of Warlords of Draenor because they were trying to get everything right. So they got everything right. We got Warlords of Draenor, and then they cut it short so that they could focus on Legion. So that entire period of time where we go from Siege of Orgrimmar through Warlords of Draenor, that, mind you, people talk about those raids very positively. Oh, Siege of Orgrimmar was actually really good. Oh, Highmaul was actually really good. Oh, Hellfire Citadel is really good. Oh, Blackrock Foundry is my favorite raid ever. The raids were good in Warlords and Siege of Orgrimmar, but that whole period of time, the whole True Horde, Iron Horde, people hated it because they were like, there's nothing to do. The story sucks. I don't like this. We're just fighting orcs over and over and over and over and over again. It all started with Siege of Orgrimmar. That's what pushed us through that entire time period. And it was about 3 years worth of that period of time from 2013 to 2016, where that's all we had. That was WoW. And it was not fun. And so if you ever wonder why it was that Legion is so beloved by the fan base, think about not just what we got in Legion, but what we were leaving behind. And we were sick of fighting orcs, and we were sick of all the Horde stuff and all the Iron Horde. And yeah, there's Horde fanboys out there that still love all the orcs. Oh yeah. But for the most part, people were just tired of it. They're like, can we have something else, please? And Legion gave us a lot of something else. We had the Nightmare. We had, all the Nightborn raid. We had, there was a lot going on. All of the Tomb of Sargeras. That was such a cool raid. Legion gave us a lot, but what it did give us was amplified by the fact that we had 3 years of this whole orc story arc that people were just sick of by the end of it. So, the Garrosh fight is a weird fight. That one I actually don't like. And here's my problem. Blizzard has always struggled with how to do a final boss fight of an iconic lore character. Look at the Deathwing fight, right? It sucks. First of all, they broke it up into 2 parts, the Spine and then the Madness, and neither one of them was any good. The Spine was ridiculously hard. Madness of Deathwing wasn't fun because you're not even fighting Deathwing, you're just fighting tendrils. I wanted to fight a giant dragon. That would have been so cool. We could have flown in on Drakes and fought him like we did in Malagos, something like that. That would have been fun. But instead, we got the Deathwing fight. There's no other way to say it. That's what we got. And the Garrosh fight to me is one of those that it's like, man, this could have been so cool. But instead, we got this Shaw-infused, Shaw steroid jacked up Garrosh, and it wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy the fight. I wanted to just fight Garrosh, and even if it had been Garrosh and he's throwing weapons at us, or he's in a mech suit, I don't know, something, but what we got, it just wasn't cool. He's like huge and attacking the city, and it's like all this weird stuff, and it was like, what is this fight? Who designed this fight and said that's what the players want to do when they kill Garrosh or when they fight Garrosh? Because we didn't get to kill him. It wasn't fun. I didn't like it. I'd say you have to go back to Wrath of the Lich King for the last time I feel like Blizzard really nailed a lore character, which was Arthas. Of course, the Lich King fight is iconic because it's him. The whole fight, it's him. And there's ads and there's different things, but it's just him. He doesn't turn into a superpowered Lich King, and he's 20 feet tall now, and he's drawing on, this extra magic that we didn't even know. No, it's just him. We're just fighting the Lich King, and he's just a badass. That's what we wanted. That's what we wanted from Garrosh. And I know Garrosh is just a dude, but come on, we could have gotten so much better than what we did. Blizzard is just not good at these fights. They can do some. Illidan fight was okay. Anybody that remembers that one back in the day, it's like, yeah, it was cool. I didn't love it. The big centerpiece of that fight is when he throws the Warglaives down and you have to fight the elementals. That was like the big part of the fight, not actually fighting Illidan. Fighting Illidan was just a tank and spank, and it wasn't interesting. So, I don't know. Yeah, the Garrosh fight was disappointing, to say the least. Whatever. I don't want a mechanically complex fight either. If you're going to have a big lore fight, I'll give you another example. The Kill Jaden fight in Tomb of Sargeras. I hate, because there's a lot of lore going on while we're doing all this ridiculous mechanics. Then I don't want that. The Sylvanas fight in Shadowlands is another example. All of this lore going on. We're teleporting from place to place. There's things happening. Why couldn't we just fight Sylvanas? Why did it have to be a multi-phase fight spanning multiple locations, doing all of this nonsense? Just have us fight Sylvanas. Is it too much to ask for her to be like the badass Ranger General / Shadowlands monster. That could have been really cool with her new Shadowlands powers. That would have been a fun fight, but no, we got this ridiculousness of a fight. I also hate having to rely on other lore characters to help us during a fight. A fight should be us versus the boss. You know, the Lich King fight nailed it because we didn't have Tyrion there the whole time. Champions, I'm casting a shield. Better get in the shield or you're going to die. No, he was fucking frozen. We did that. The only thing that saved us was that Tyrion reached out to the light and said, hey, can you help me one more time? Please, just give me this one last thing. And I swear I'll never ask for another one again, even though I will, but you won't give it to me because this is my last one, so I'll die in Legion. But I'm asking for this one last thing, please. And the light gives it to him, and he saves us, which is cool because then we still have to go kill Arthas. I love that. I love the mechanic of that. The way that it flows is so good. It's so well done. There's a reason why Lich King, Wrath of the Lich King is such a beloved expansion because there were so many iconic moments in there that weren't just, oh, that was so cool that we got to see Thrall beat up Garrosh. I guess, you know, or, you know, at the end of the Sylvanas fight, how terrible does it feel at the end of the Sylvanas fight where we win, but we lose? I hate that so much. I don't, that's not how you do a fight, Blizzard. That's not how you do a boss fight, especially for a character as iconic as Sylvanas. So the Garrosh fight, not very good. I'd say it's probably one of the weakest parts of Siege of Orgrimmar, but you know, obviously if you're going in there now as a midnight character and you're going to one-shot him, whatever, it's not a big deal. But you know, for the people who are for those about to fight Garrosh, good luck. It's not a lot of fun. So, and that's it. That's the whole raid. There's a lot of annoying trash in there, that I do remember from Remix and, yeah. And that's just, you know, when you have a big open-ended raid like that, you're going to have a lot of annoying trash, and that's just the way it goes. And that's fine. I don't need every raid to be trash free because we've seen what that is, and that's not fun either. So, and honestly, Icecrown, not great on the trash. I don't love the trash in Icecrown. I feel like there's a little bit too much annoying trash in Icecrown. It's not as bad as some other raids, though. It's a little bit sparse in the areas where it needs to be sparse, so I'll give them that. Icecrown had decent trash. I'll give them that. I still feel like Blackwing Lair is my favorite raid in terms of trash because we had a lot of trash, but it wasn't the whole raid. So anyway, so that's it. That's what's coming in Phase 5 of Mists of Pandaria Classic. And it should be live now. It's now 6 o'clock. So I don't know why I keep telling the time because that's just going to screw up my recording, but or my editing. But yeah, it should be live now. And you know, if that's something that you're interested in, go check it out. But yeah, there you go. Mists of Pandaria Phase 5. Will we get Warlords of Draenor pre-patch next? We'll wait till BlizzCon and see. But at this point, anything is possible. I'm not going to discount it. I'm not going to say we won't get Warlords. There's no way. We might get Warlords. I don't know. We might get Wrath of the Lich King Anniversary. I don't know. We might get Classic Plus. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I'm all predicted out at this point. All I can do is tell you what I see. And what I see right now is starting to lean very heavily towards, yeah, it looks like we're getting Warlords of Draenor. So, all right. That's going to wrap up our show for today. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. I really do appreciate it. It is always a pleasure and a privilege for me to get on this microphone and speak to you. If you are enjoying the podcast, Azeroth United is a labor of love for me. So if you're enjoying it, I would really appreciate it if you could help me out by doing, there's a couple things you could do to help out. You could leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That really helps out with the distribution of the podcast, get more people to listen to it. And I feel like that's not a huge ask. And then the other thing you could do is you could just write a review. If you write a review on Apple Podcasts or leave a comment on Spotify, those really help out as well because it shows engagements. And for whatever reason, the algorithms love engagement, I guess. I don't know. It's always really cool to hear from people and to just, I don't know. It makes me feel good, and I guess maybe that's my ego talking a little bit. I'm like, oh, people like my show, ha ha ha. But yeah, it's nice. So yeah, there you go. We do have a few comments that I wanted to read from Spotify. We have this one's from a couple episodes ago, which was "Is WoW releasing content too fast?" Jim says, "Been playing for 20 years now. I have and will participate in the anal chat in /2. This ban for language is crazy to me. The stuff I see makes me cringe and laugh, but I guess it's just me. I would never report, just ignore." Yeah, so there was the whole conversation about dropping an F-bomb will get you banned from WoW, from Blizzard. And I think that they probably realized that they need to get a little tighter rein on their customer service reps. We have a comment from True North 97, which is, when does Classic Plus happen? That's a really good question. We're going to find out at BlizzCon, probably. Maybe. We'll see. And then finally, we have Rastagoat, who, this is for, are we getting Classic Plus this year, which was the last episode. He said, "I agree they will announce Classic Plus at BlizzCon, but I think the release is coming much sooner. I think they will say they've been working really hard on it and that it is almost ready. Launches December 15th with digital pre-orders. I agree with you that they will charge for it, being available beginning the same day it is announced at BlizzCon." Maybe I'm way off, but maybe I'm not. I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to see. I mean, that's been my whole point, is that, I can guess and I can speculate wildly all that I want, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. So one other thing that you can do, and this is something I don't talk about very often, but you can send an email to azerothunitedpod@gmail.com. That is the email address for the YouTube channel, where I upload all of the videos for the podcasts. YouTube makes you do it that way. It's one of the reasons why I started doing videos, because of YouTube and the way that they changed how the podcast works on the YouTube platform. But so you can send an email there if you want. If you just want to send an email and you don't want to post a comment or whatever. But occasionally I'll get some really good emails from people, and it's really nice. I got a really good one this week. This is actually this is on Thursday. So it says, "Hey man, I really like your show and usually watch it on YouTube while doing my dailies. I just wanted to give my 2 cents about your idea that Classic Plus will be paid box price and that there will be no boost. I really, really do not see this happening this way. Classic Plus would be DOA if they create a barrier to entry. I have quite a few friends who play on Dragonflight or the War Within licenses and never transitioned into Midnight. For many other WoW players, the WoW sub is an ecosystem. Your subscription gives you access to all game modes. Classic Plus will be much more niche than the 2019 version of Classic. With every release and re-release, the Classic player base has seen smaller and smaller peaks. In my opinion, they will do what they have always done, included in the sub, no paid services at first, then when the dust settles, you can buy boosts, WoW tokens, etc. As for the other modes, they just look at their numbers of players and decide per add-on if it's worth continuing. My guess, they will end with Mists of Pandaria and Wrath for the 2 current Classic versions, just like SOD just stays like it is now. No one will complain or care because everyone is looking forward to Classic Plus. Few people will moan on it on Reddit, but the ships keep on cruising." Thank you so much for the email. I really do appreciate it. It's so hard to know. There's so many different ways that Blizzard could approach Classic Plus, and just Classic in general. And I've talked about 20 different things that I think Blizzard will do over the next few months or year. But I guess we'll wait till BlizzCon. When BlizzCon comes here and we know, then we can start talking about, okay, here's how we're gonna make this work. But ultimately, nobody knows but Blizzard, so I guess we'll see. All right. So there you go. Speaking of YouTube, if you are watching this on YouTube and you are enjoying this, you could consider leaving a comment, giving a like, or putting a subscribe on there. Those all help with the YouTube algorithm. And then the final thing you could do if you were enjoying the show to help out is you could consider joining our Patreon. Patreon is where people can give their IRL money to help out with the production costs of the show. And I've said before that the engagement is worth a lot of money to me. just knowing that people care enough to say, "Hey, I'll throw you a couple bucks." It still blows my mind, but I am so appreciative. And like I've said before, I've never put this podcast out with the intention of making money. But if people want to help out, I'm more than happy to accept that and super appreciative. So there's 2 different tiers of patrons that you could join. There's a free tier and there's a paid tier. Actually, we have 2 paid tiers and then there's a free tier. Sorry, I always screw that up. But yeah, you can just join in free and just see what's going on the Patreon. I am still working on some things that I'd like to do on Patreon, but Patreon keeps poking me. They're like, hey, you need to do all these cool new features that we added, and I haven't done any of them yet. So maybe the next couple weeks I will do that. But I did want to thank our friend of the show patrons. That's Stuglife, Theliel, Greybeard, Raven, Azerin, Agro Management, and Luch. Thank you all so much. I really do appreciate it. You definitely help make Azeroth United possible. And thank you to all of our patrons for your continued support. It really means a lot to me. So, all right. And I think that's it. So remember to be good to each other out there. That's a real person on the other side of that keyboard. And you know what? Maybe they are enjoying Mists of Pandaria Classic, and that's cool. Have fun. Siege of Orgrimmar, it's a cool raid. I just don't like the last boss fight, and hopefully we're not in there for 13 months this time. But yeah, just smile and be nice and be like, cool, man, you like Siege of Orgrimmar, I like Voidspire. It's all good. We all like different things, and we're all here for one reason, and that's to have fun and enjoy the game. So all right, take care. I love you all, and I'll see you in Azeroth.